Hi guys, welcome to Basement Supercar Build, the channel where we see if an average guy like me can design and build his own mid-engine car. This video will be a highlights video of the work that was finished this week. If you want to see the actual work take place, watch the full-length video for this week. And with that out of the way, let's get started on this week's video.
So I have an update for you guys, and it's not a good one. The plan, of course, was to use the engine that I have built and put in the car and from a 2007 year vehicle, and this modern C7 Corvette wiring harness and all of the electrical components, steering column, heating and air, and everything out of the same Corvette C7. But I found out a few days ago that these things are not compatible. There's no way to make this wiring harness and ECU communicate with this year model engine. And I think what I've been told is it's because of a totally different style fuel injectors, and they just won't work together. So my options come down to either replacing the engine with a newer, more modern engine that works with this wiring harness and electronics, which is kind of expensive, but the downside to that is the newer modern fuel injectors will only produce so much fuel and will not work on a twin turbocharged system very well, or they will up to a certain point but not past that horsepower range. And I'm looking for more horsepower, so a newer engine won't work. I'm going to stick with the engine that I have, and that leaves me with the only other option is buying a wiring harness out of a different vehicle that is older that will work with the older engine, and most likely a C5 or C6 Corvette wiring harness will do. I think both of those will probably work, but I'm going to do some research and make sure before I purchase anything else. The bad news is I have about $3,000 worth of wiring harness and electrical computer boxes, ECMs, heads-up display, radio, all of this equipment that are useless to me, and I guess I'm going to have to try to sell this to recover some of my money, and since I don't need them. So I've got to speak to some more people. I've been talking to people for the last 3 or 4 days, but I need to confirm that I'm going to go the C5 or C6 Corvette route and then try to find all those components and purchase them. Not sure how difficult that's going to be. It took me a while to round up all the pieces here for the C7 that I'm not going to be able to use. So until I know exactly what I'm buying and find the parts, order them, and get them here, I'm kind of at a standstill on the car. So there may be a week or possibly even 2 that you don't get an update from me. But not stopped working on the car. I've just ran into something I wasn't expecting. It's because I didn't do my research before ordering these things, or didn't research enough. I did some research, but I missed that. So it's possible I'll be switching out the HVAC box here and the steering column to make them compatible with what I'm purchasing from the wiring harness. But stay tuned, and after a week or 2 downtime, I will be back up and running, posting videos, and keep you guys current on what I'm doing. So I talked to a guy today who says he can make my wiring harness communicate and work with a Holley engine management system. So it sounds like I will have to get rid of the stock Corvette C7 wiring harness for the engine and go with an aftermarket wiring harness. And then there will be a couple of wires, or a few wires, that communicate from that Holley engine management system with the stock C7 Corvette, just to make the gauge pack function correctly, and then everything else will work with this C7 wiring harness and a stock C7 ECU or ECM, whichever one you want to call it. So since he says he can do this and make this function for me, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this wiring harness ready, I'm going to pick out the circuits that I don't need and want to delete and start labeling them, getting them ready. I'll have to trace back through all the circuitry or the wiring diagram online and make sure that they don't function something else besides just that one circuit. They're not attached to another circuit, so I'm not causing some other issues. But I'm going to pull these wires out and label them, and one at a time, one circuit at a time, and get them ready to start deleting. Well, you just saw me removing some connectors and wires from the front wiring harness. So it's the smallest wiring harness. I wanted to start with it since it should be the easiest. I think I removed 3 or 4 different things. This is the wires I removed, and I clipped the connectors off and threw them in the trash. But they were things like crash sensors and let's see, what else was it I removed? I forgot now. Crash sensors and things like that I won't be using. They connect to a crash computer and then go to the airbags, and I'll be removing all of that. There was also the larger wires went to the vacuum pump for the brake booster. The C7 has an electric vacuum pump instead of vacuum pulling off of the engine, and the one I'm using is vacuum from the engine. So I deleted that connector also. But the small one here laying on the floor is finished. I'll save the instrument panel for last because I haven't marked the one that's coming out of it yet. I'm not quite sure what I'm removing just yet. The body harness here is all marked and ready. That'll be the next one that I tackle. It's quite a few wires will be coming off of it because there's a lot of different sensors and power seats, heated and cooled seat connectors, stereo amplifiers and speaker connections, and just different things that I won't be using the factory harness. So I'm removing all of that. You can see the big blue tape flags with X's on them. That is what I will be removed. So it's several wires, and it'll lighten the harness up some. So I want to delete the wires completely from the harness, not just clip off the ends. But that's coming up next.